And then easier again.
Clock's ticking.
Yep, we're live on YouTube and Twitch.
This is Rowena Dooley.
Have one go out on the hour.
Citizens to report for duty.
Weird.
I've been staring at the moon. Take me higher, waiting for your call.
This is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
And good evening, and welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I'm GriffinGamingRPG, and it's Sunday, October 23rd, and we are back for the closing of a series that we've been doing called Shipyard, where we discuss the history and the ships and our likes and thoughts about manufacturers in the Star Citizen universe. And I am joined today with my compadres. To my right, your left, or whatever way you want to look at it, is fastcart FC. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. I can't believe we reached the end of it.
Yeah, believe it or not, right? We finally went through every manufacturer.
Everyone.
So far, right? And to my
It only
left,
took, what, 2 years?
I
18 months?
know, yeah. And to my left, it's you guys, right? The man from down under, Kalrati. What's up? What's up?
Hey, people. It's happy to be here. Happy to be at the conclusion of this and can't wait to see what we have in store.
Yeah, we had to work you like a slave this weekend, pardon the expression, right? I mean, you were here yesterday. And
I was going to say,
today,
Griff,
last week,
really?
Yeah, we making this man work for his money, I tell you.
I was ready to do the work.
Oh God, we got a raid. Who's
Raid?
Oh, Go Mob. Thank you, Go Mob.
Hey,
Come
Go
up in
Mob.
the hizzy.
It's always nice when one of our own team
I'm
members
such a big
gives us
fan of yours,
raid.
Go Mob. Let me just say, it's great for you to see you rating us. Thank you for that.
I love his alter ego, Goomba. He's
Goomba, yeah, that's
he's
Goomba.
spectacular.
Yeah, that's the
There you
Goomba.
go.
He's gonna beat us for that, you know.
Hey, it was Kalrati. You saw that, right?
Yep, the Cal already started it. Well, listen, oh, I feel good. Thrakazog, thank you for that community gift sub. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the support. Wow, matter of fact, wow, we're at 44 out of 50. So we might hit it tonight. That's awesome. Thank you so much
Booyah.
for kicking us off the right way. Hey, listen, as I just mentioned, this is the final episode in our series on Shipyard. Once a month we've been doing these and kind of did a little skip over, but we're back doing them. And today we're going to be talking about, I guess you could say, the granddaddy, the grandpappy of them all, RSI, Robert Space Industries, named after the developer, CEO, visionary, whatever else you want to call him, of the game we play, Star Citizen. Fastcart, do you own any RSI ships?
I own some and melted some and own some again. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't currently. Oh wait, I have to look at my hangar. I've had the Phoenix several times.
Yes,
Not
I
a
know
few
several times. Yes, you have. That is your most meltable ship, I think, in your hangar. But yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
basically, and the Aurora, but I got the referral Aurora from one of the referral bonuses, and I just upgraded that, so I don't currently have the Aurora. But
Okay.
yeah,
That's insulting.
How do you not have an? You're in Test Squadron. You're supposed to have an Aurora. In
I
your
know.
fleet.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I've been in Test Squadron for 7 years now, and that's a long time to keep a ship I don't use. I mean, just being honest, that's a long time to keep a ship I don't
You
use.
should have made that your your ship that has Squadron 42 and Star Citizen on it. Then you'd have to keep it, and you would never have to get rid of it. See?
No.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Damn,
That
so
makes
much
you
hate for the
keep
Aurora,
it.
man.
Yeah, I tell you. Oh, and Kalrati, how about you? RSI ships? Do you own any?
Well, you know which ship I own?
Yes, I
The
do.
beloved Aurora MR. So that's never leaving my hangar. I've had other Aurora ships in the past. I've recently tried the Scorpius, and it's fun. With the co-pilot and everything like that. And I've had the first after the Aurora MR, the other RSI ship that I purchased that was still in the hangar module was the Taurus. That was something that I was really looking forward to, and I was really happy to see it out of the doors. I don't currently have it in my hangar at the moment, but it was really nice to see it finally out of that hangar mod. And yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I think what was my first ship? No, my first ship was it Aurora? I want to say I bought an Aurora first because I bought it with the game package. And back in the day, you guys, a lot of you all already know this, but back in the day, the game package consisted of being able to get both Squadron 42 and also being able to get the Star Citizen Pushes the Universe access to it. So Envoy, hey, thank you very much. 12 months subscribing.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Envoy. And so back then, I remember I got that. And then I think the ship that I graduated to from there was a Avenger, then a Connie, then a Connie, the Andromeda. I got the Andromeda. I didn't go for any of the other ones. The Phoenix was way too expensive. The Taurus was, I didn't know
that
one.
Andromeda.
Wait, the Phoenix is way too expensive?
Yeah.
You saying that?
The Phoenix? No, wait.
Well, back then, right?
We're talking 8 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever. So back then, that was one of the more, other than if you went to like the Idrises and stuff, there was no in between stuff back then. If you remember, there were no 605. I mean, other than I think the 890 was $600 back then, right? So after that, you jumped into the Idris and Javelin leagues, and I forget that. I wasn't doing that. So
well, you could have had the measurement for 250. But
250, yeah.
Well, I did, but still, that was still in the reasonable bracket. But I'm just saying, the Phoenix has always been through like 350.
350.
Right? So I mean, out of all four of those ships, the Taurus was nice, but I don't know. There was something about, I like the idea of having, they advertised the Connie Andromeda as the multi-crew. It was more like the jack of all trades. Where
that's old.
Yeah,
that's
the Taurus was much more specialized, and the Aquila was specialized, and the Phoenix.
The Taurus took so long to come out.
Yeah. So that was mine. That was my next one. But yeah, that's it.
I mean. If you're going through history, my first game package was probably the 315P and a Hornet, but I melted those and got a Connie Taurus physical package, with the silver box that comes with it, no longer available.
Right.
So I still had that in my hangar, but I upgraded the Taurus to a fighter. But I've had that in my hangar since my first one in Star Citizen. So that's 8 years I had that package.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. Well, let's jump on in. Let's start talking about this history of the company. First off, we're going to be reading this from. Normally, I pull this stuff from the CIG site, but I was out of it and missed it. So I'm actually went to the easiest and fastest source where they also pull it from the RSI site. So I'm going to be reading from Star Citizen Fandom. Chu, thank you. Hey, 5 community sub
Thanks.
gifts. Hey, thank you so much for that. We appreciate
And we hit our 50, yep.
that. Did we hit our 50? Oh, great.
Yes, we
Thank you.
did.
You guys, thank you all so much for helping us there.
Hey,
Whammer
thanks for the
says thank you for
subscription.
the subscriptions. Thank you all for helping us reach our October total. Feel free to double it. Yeah, we'll be here. Okay, we'll be here all night. All right, let's talk about the history of RSI. RSI is, and we'll put the link in chat for you guys so you guys can read along or follow it later. Robert Space Industries is one of the oldest human enterprises still in operation, with a history dating back to the first journeys of humanity toward the stars in the 22nd century. Constituted at the beginning of the 21st century, RSI developed the first autonomous quantum generator, which paved the way for the colonization of the galaxy. Governments and businesses have quickly embraced this technology, and the resulting expansion has led to the United Empire of Earth, UEE as we know it, guys. However, President Roberts of RSI had a very different dream, a future where the stars were accessible to everyone. In 2140, his company created the first model of the Zeus, a vessel equipped with a quantum generator designed for sale to individuals. It is these innovations combined with the technologies discovered in previous decades that have allowed the human empire to take shape. With such history and the impact it may have had on the way human culture has evolved in space, RSI is of interest to historians and sociologists as well as to accountants. The company's head office is located in New York on Earth. It includes a display case that contains the latest ship models, as well as a room in which centuries of designs are displayed, up to the famous Zeus. This exhibition area is thus both a sales space and a museum, and the huge tower in which it's located has now been part of the landscape for generations. Tradition has it that this building, where the first ships were born, is one of the first things we visit when we stop at Earth. Okay, let me read a little bit more here. I'll come back and talk about the Zeus a little bit. Products intended for the civilian market are the pride of RSI, thanks to the efforts of the company, which owes them almost half its turnover. Against all expectations and despite strong competition from upstart manufacturers such as Origin Jump Works, GmbH, and Musashi Industrial Starflight Concern, the company has continued to grow its market share. In recent years, none of them have managed to diversify to the same extent. On its own, the Constellation holds the candle to the Freelancer and the Starfarer together, while the Aurora remains a viable solution to the single-seaters produced by Origin. Its heavy vessels remain unmatched. On the other hand, concerning military contracts, the reality is much less brilliant. Although RSI served as the main supplier for production of the Bengal carrier as well as other heavy vessels, it is common knowledge that this company strings failures in the context tenders organized for smaller models. The UE Navy does use a small number of militarized constellations for reconnaissance, but it has never massively adopted RSI vessels. Recently, the company failed to win a contract worth 1.7 trillion credits for the supply of a new generation fighter for the benefit of the F-8A offered by Anvil Aerospace. Turning the knife over in the wound, RSI's offer was ranked third, far beyond Aegis Dynamics' project, the Dogfighter 3000, which the UE Navy intends to retain after modifications. The company's prototype, dubbed Black Widow, has deemed too expensive to serve on the front line, which means it probably won't be sold on the civilian market either. Okay, there's a little bit of history there. There's some good lore stuff there. fastcart. I know you're a big Terra fan, but it looks like if you want to buy your RSI ship, you're going to have to go all the way back to Earth and go to New York, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. No, I don't mind. I get someone to pilot my E1 to take me to Earth and pilot me back in the Phoenix when I get one.
Yeah.
In game.
Yeah. Let me ask you.
I do want to say the Lord says New York, and we know in real life it's Texas and California. I wouldn't be surprised if that get retcon in the future.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Let me ask you guys a question. For all these manufacturers, they all do have these different locations, right? They're in different systems on different planets. Do you think that there's going to be some gameplay dynamic in relation to that? Will it be, I'm trying to come from an economist standpoint here, right? If I buy direct from the manufacturer, MSRP, could the price of ships be different? If I go to New York and get my ship, but if I'm buying that same ship, maybe 10 systems out, right? 15 systems out, should the price go up for the price of ships? Should that Connie that maybe cost 34 million, if you want to get it because you happen to be out near Stanton and that's 8 jumps away from Seoul, should you now be paying maybe 65 million? Or do you think the prices of ships will be the same no matter where you go? And I'm saying from an economy standpoint, how does that affect gameplay? Does it force people to consider saving $20 million if I travel eight systems in? What do you think?
I imagine that a Phoenix or some ship that it depends on how the economy is in the local system. But I imagine there will be a price difference. It probably will be a bit more expensive, but I don't believe it'll be too expensive to that people would want to travel 8 jumps. It depends on how expensive.
If I tell you the price of that ship is
is
20 million difference, you won't make those jumps.
Okay, if it's 20 million, but I don't imagine it'll be that
Why not?
that much of a difference.
Why not? If you make it too cheap, people ain't gonna make the trip, right?
Yeah,
That is true.
I mean, but the thing is, I'm pretty sure that they have an RSI franchise and stuff like that. They want people to buy stuff as soon as possible rather than go 8 jumps. And they may change their mind and see something else that they may decide to buy.
That's competition, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe you're willing to live with the fact that because I live, 8 jumps away or 10 jumps away from most civilized places where manufacturers are, I'm going to pay a little bit more. I guess I'm just trying to find out where's the balance. Because to make all this lower and say, oh, this is where the like right now, for example, we go to Crusader, right? The ship manufacturing is right there. Is there going to be some benefit to going to Crusader and buying your ship versus, I'm 12 systems over. I want me an M2. Is delivery faster if I go to Seoul versus if I order my ship at a further location?
So I really hope that there is some kind of influence, not just on the price, but also some perks with regards to reputation, access to certain resources. Because, for example, we've talked about a lot when it comes to quantum, that influence with regards to, all right, let's say I have an RSI ship. Could the possibility be, if I were to go to a particular location, do they have particular parts that work better with regards to the materials that RSI uses for my ship? We know with regards to repair and the reverse version of salvage, when you repair your ship, you wouldn't be 100% repaired. Who knows the kind of material that you would have salvaged from a previous ship? It could be different when you're applying it to your RSI ship. So who knows when you're going to X location and you're repairing it, they may not have the materials that RSI may be using, similar to how they may not have the weapons to restock your ship after you repair your wing that previously had a weapon on that. So with regards to the incentives to go, and jump distances to get to a particular ship, while I can totally see where FC is coming from, and I do agree that it shouldn't be too different. It should be different enough to encourage us to make that journey.
Yeah.
Not just for the price, but also for some kind of reputation or some kind of other
factors.
Yeah.
GoMap said that there should be other factors. Then you're pushing on like reputation. He mentions here though already that the price on the same ship is different in R-Corp versus Hurston, and that would make sense since R-Corp is a much more flourishing economic city for its civilians than Hurston is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
The ships
that's
may be a
true.
little bit more affordable there. So again, I don't want to make it in the sense of that there's a, I was using the huge difference thing in the fact of what would drive people to travel directly to a manufacturer. But
Yep.
we may find that economies alone, just like you were saying, fastcart, depending on economies in different systems, that may be the other factors that determine whether or not ships cost how resources, access to parts, a whole lot of other things could be the factors that say,
Or
go ahead.
access to different minerals to make the ship. Like
Yeah.
if you're at the light on a particular mineral, it may cost more to make that ship, and they'd have to pass it on to the consumer.
Yep, that's what I was saying. Even resources, if you're in a resource heavy area, access is easier versus other areas. And I'm sure maybe those same factors, you could say those same factors about repairing ships, replacing upgrades, whatever the case may be. But it was just an interesting thought because I just, as we've been wrapping this up and I've been thinking about, man, we got manufacturers in Goss and manufacturers here and here and here. How does that play into gameplay? What is the, other than going to look at the museum, is there some other benefit? Like I said, maybe it's just the fact that if I put in an order for a ship, I get it faster if I go directly to the manufacturer versus me waiting for delivery when I put in, an insurance claim, right? Now I have to wait for it to be sent out to where I'm at. So there's a lot of fun stuff that CIG could play with, y'all. We just had a little fun with that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and transition here. Oh, no, I was going to ask you guys about the Zeus. The Zeus has always been this like interesting lore piece, right? That people know about the Zeus. It's like they think it's a cool looking ship, one of the first liners that went into space. It looks and very similar to stuff that we even see today that our own NASA and space agencies have produced. And people have often, every once in a while, shouted out, please make the Zeus, make the Zeus,
We need to see it.
Yeah, now they came out with the Zeus suit, right? The space suit and whatnot. I don't know. You think you think that the Zeus will show up in the verse? I'm not saying whether we'll own it, but do you think it will show up in the verse? What do you think?
I think it'll definitely show up in the verse. The question, my question is whether it'll be ownable. But yes, I definitely see it in the verse at some point in the future.
You think it might be a statue like a Crusader where it's just on a platform, or do you think it'll actually be flying around?
I hope it'll be flying around. Like I hope it'll be playable on in the future. But maybe the first iteration will be a statue, like you said, or something like that. But yeah, we'll see.
Maybe a museum ride, Kalrati. Maybe it'll be a museum.
Yeah,
ride.
I mean, I could also envision, even having it as some kind of discoverable wreck and having some really valuable loot items in there,
Ooh,
So it'd be really nice to have maybe some tailored mission to it, given that it's, it had such an important role in human history.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe there could be two of them. It could be one in the museum, but there could be another one, and that one disappeared because that was
I
the
could see,
first
I
version.
could see them selling. I could see them selling replicas because they do replicas of alien ships. I don't see them doing. I could see them doing replicas of human ships.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was just thinking about what you said though, Kalrati. People have been so barking about, we can find that derelict what was that thing
Reclaimer.
called? No, not the reclaimer, the derelict.
Oh, the javelin.
No, not the javelin, the derelict, the bigger one, the
The Bengal.
Yeah, we can fix it up and we can blah blah blah.
Oh.
What if you were able to find a Zeus and actually be able to go out there if you find it and make one?
I'll be showing off as that. I'll be like retrofitting that.
Cool, right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Helix. Listen, I've had a long week, bro. I'm so tired. You just don't know. Okay, that was cool. I was just kind of curious as to what you guys thought about that lore and whether we see some of that lore be, impacting it in some way in game. So I'm excited about that. Okay, let's get into it. One of the first things that we're going to talk about, and we're not going to play you guys have seen these commercials a million times, so we're not going to sit here and listen to them, but we will run them for you so you'll know what it is that we're talking about. And the first thing we're going to pick up with is start right at the low end of things, and that's going to be with the Ursa rover. What do you guys think? Let me start with you, Kalrati, on this one. The Ursa rover, it's been around for a little bit now, right?
Yeah.
We hear a lot of people talking about the new gray cat car, the Steve, the STV. And then, people are into the Tumbrils and Fastcart's into wanting his Ranger. But we don't hear very much about the Ursa anymore. We've gotten the other vehicles now that Anvil has put out, the two I forget what they call them, the combat ones. You know what I
Centurion.
mean? Yeah, the
Yeah.
Centurion stuff.
Yeah.
So what's happening with the Ursa? Is it still something to aspire to and use, or is it just kind of the forgotten beast that's out there?
I think eventually it will come back and have a good bit of use. One thing that I really admire about the Ursa, especially when it comes to escaping prisons, is that it can protect you from the environment, the elements.
Mhm.
And given that we know that there are different elements that we're going to be experiencing on different moon planets, being able to shield you from those outside elements is going to factor in a good bit, especially as exploration comes online, especially as things like persistence, and you're out there possibly not being near your ship all the time, and you're far from an outpost and such. So I think the Ursa, while it may not be as dominant or prominent right now, given the other vehicles like the Spartan and the Tombrel vehicles and the tanks, etc., I think it's going to have its time to shine once again later on, especially when it comes to combat as well. Not necessarily full-on combat, but with regards to defense and infiltrating an area. It may not be as tough as a ballista or a Centurion or a Spartan, but it can still get you from point A to point B, while also allowing that cheap, affordable, even in-game advantage when going from point A to point B within the elements. So I think eventually we'll see some benefits from it.
Okay. Do you remember if it's 4 seats or 6 seats in the back? It's been a little while since I've remembered.
I think it's 4,
but I can look it up.
So 4 and then 6 people total. FC, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about the Ursa? Because you've been around for a little while since it's been here. By the way, guys, I do want to say this. Some of these things we've talked about in the past before, but some of these things we go back to, and there are reasons why. It's not just because we're looking to create content, but it's also because the game is evolving. And what we may have thought about the Ursa 2-3 years ago, and what we think about it now, based upon the development of the game, can be changed. It can modify, right? We can feel very differently about it. Also, the way we've seen the way players have been using the different tools in the game. So one of my comments has to do with this before. I didn't mean to cut you off, fastcart, but for example, I knew some people who were doing theaters of war, and they said the Ursa was slaughtering in theaters of war, which I was like, you got to be kidding me. They were like, people were using the thing like crazy. So like you said, Kalrati, maybe depending on what the application is, now mind you, we didn't have the Centurion back then, but I heard this thing was mobile, it was fast, and it was firing in and blowing folks up. So,
especially in player run events too.
Yeah.
On DMR,
Yeah. FC, what about you think about the Ursa?
Yeah, compared to it came out in 3.0. I was looking at the ship matrix, and it is 4, and people in the chat say it's 4 and 2 in the back, like you said. But yeah, it came out in 3.0, so it's one of the earliest ship vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
I think since then, CIG had defined the ship, the vehicle pipeline basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the new one coming out seem to be more. I don't want to say, close to the gold standard compared to what the Ursa is, because it is one of the first vehicles to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, as far as coming back in the style, like I said, they're having they've had theater, not just theaters of war, but I mean Dumptown and Nine Tails and stuff like that. So I could still see it having a use, but I'm not sure. People may decide to go with something newer over this, but yeah.
Keep me seriously with the bed. With persistence coming online, please. just give me one with the bed. I'll drive everywhere.
Yeah, it's an interesting vehicle. There's a sister to this vehicle. Some of you all know this from back in the day. There were 2 of these. This was one vehicle that you were going to get when you bought a Connie. The other one was the Lynx, which was another version of this. And it was supposed to be the impression was that it was maybe a more refined version, because it was going to go in the Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. And then this would go into the Connie and the other one. So we never did see it. We did see some ideas of what the Lynx could be, but we never saw it coming to fruition. So
I think it's still coming.
Yeah,
they
haven't
gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see that coming to fruition. But yeah, it's a nice little vehicle and practical, and I think, like you said, Kalrati, in time it will find its way into popularity with the Star Citizen community. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even read the description for that, but it's built by RSI for planet-side exploration, offers civilians military-grade all-terrain capabilities, and stands as a rugged standard in ground-based scouting, mapping, and discovery. Let me ask you this real quick, though, before we leave here. Do you guys remember what was exciting about this commercial at all?
3.0 was coming out.
Right, but there was something else though. What about the 3? Because you said it was back in 3.0.
Yeah.
You don't remember the scenes? None of these scenes were in the game at that time.
That's true.
That
That's
background
true.
there with that big thing hanging up in the space.
Yeah.
The fighting with the Van Duel. That thing there with the fire. There's a Van Duel back there. All that stuff. We were like, whoa, what is that? What is that? You know. So that was another thing that was actually very cool about that commercial. All right, let's go ahead and jump into another one here. Kalrati, would you read that for the Auroras, please? Go so you can go down each one of them, okay?
Yeah, sure. So the Aurora ES. The Aurora is the modern-day descendant of the Rocket Space Industries X-7 spacecraft, which tested the very first jump engines. Utilitarian to a T, the Aurora Essential is the perfect choice for new ship owners, versatile enough to tackle a myriad of challenges, yet with a straightforward and intuitive design. Should I go to the MR?
Yeah.
The best one? Okay. So MR stands for Master because it's Master of all Auroras. So perhaps you're looking for something that offers carrying capacity, but has combat capabilities too. The Aurora Mark comes with a pair of bearing quality lasers and a high quality gun cooler system. That's perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the CL, which isn't as awesome as the MR, customized for mercantile, excuse my pronunciations, and trading excursions.
Mm-hmm.
The Aurora Clipper is the perfect vessel for aspiring entrepreneurs and seasoned traders alike. Thanks to its expanded cargo capacity, the Clipper ups the ante for personal merchant craft. Now moving on to the LX. Be proud of your roots with the brand new Aurora Deluxe, built for the discerning pilot who never forgets where he or she came from. The LX features patent leather and interior to guarantee comfort for those long stretches in the deep black. Last but certainly not least, I think this is going to be my second favorite Aurora. With a more robust shield generator and a pair of additional weapon hardpoints, the Legionnaire is a dedicated combat fighter built to handle any obstacle the universe can throw at you.
Okay, awesome.
The Auroras.
You know, this is what I'm going to say. First of all, I know all these names except for the ES. Don't ask me why I never knew that ES meant essential. I did not know that. I used to always wonder, what is ES? All the other ones I knew except for the ES. Some of you,
yeah, I forgot that the MR stands for Mark.
Yeah,
Mark.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I knew it at one time, but I mean, I've forgotten more things about Star Citizen.
I know. Trust me, I know how you feel. I have gone through. The ones I bought was the CL and the LX because I was into the idea of cargo, and the LX. You guys know I'm a big luxury fan, so. Gotta have that patent leather seat, mind you. There's nothing else about that ship that's luxury except for the patent leather seat. Okay.
If you watch the commercial, you can put the leather seat in any of them. So you can have the CL with leather seats.
That commercial is 8 years old, and them seats don't come out. Okay, so it'd be nice. You know, I actually remember when Dumper's Depot used to have those seats up on the rack, you know, like as if you wanted to buy a seat and replace it. You know, they've taken all that down now. That's for you old dinosaurs in here who remember when Dumper's Depot used to have different parts of ships laying in there, not components. But yeah, there's
wait. I have to address something here.
Yeah.
Opti said the LX got them into snobs. Is that real? You have the LX get
you have to have an LX. You have to have an LX. Yes, absolutely. LX is.
Oh my God.
Listen, the LX is designed for when you are a snob. That if you want to get around covertly amongst the common people, you get into that ship and you go and you don't draw attention to yourself. That's the whole point. Why we have that.
All right.
It is the luxury edition. Thank you very much. So here it is interesting though. Aurora, there are 5 of these, right? I think anyone who comes closest is Consolidated Outland with 4 variants, but as far as the starters,
yeah.
Well, yeah, they got the special ship. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, the Omega.
Yeah, we can't get that bad fella no more. I forget about that. But yeah, they did have 5. But I'm just saying, readily available that can be purchased. These ships are out there. Do people underestimate these fast cart? I mean, these Auroras. I know that we lovingly call it the cockroach, right? But you know,
Right.
do people underestimate the Auroras? You never heard that, Kalrati? We call it the cockroach. Yeah, the cockroach.
You
Man.
got him clutching his pearl.
the
That's what he
cockroach.
did.
Yeah.
No, back in the day, when they had fewer ships, and the content creators were trying to figure out things to do, especially between that long stretch between the 2.7 and 3.0, people were, trying to make content. I remember watching Sergeant Gamble. And he would have bowling with on his ships.
Yeah, that
And the
was
thing-
that
wait,
was
wait,
that was that was.
I'm gonna. I know, but the thing is, it was a while ago. But without armor and stuff like that, the Aurora was a tough little ship.
Okay.
And it would survive things that the bigger ships wouldn't survive. I don't know if that's probably still not the case,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure when armor come online. Hey, maybe it was just a similar circumstance,
Yeah.
but that was it. That was one of the things that the war is pretty tough, despite its size and price.
I thought you were going to tease Kalrati because Kalrati didn't know when Sergeant Gamble would use the Aurora as bowling pins. So that's why I was
Yeah,
like,
I don't think I heard that one before.
Kalrati that. Don't tell him that. You'll break his heart, Yeah, he would
But it's
stack
okay.
them. He would stack
It's okay.
them.
The
He
Aurora
would
was the
stack
bowling
them.
ball.
Yeah, he would
Yeah,
stack them and use the bowling ball and crash them. So, yeah, that's back in the day too.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
yes, no, you're right, Fast Car. I mean, there was a time when, and not to be funny, but it's also all we had. We didn't have very many ships out there, and a lot of people
Right.
came into gameplay by buying their starter packages with the Aurora. Now there are a lot of people who may not even think about buying it as a starter package, or even if they do, that's all they buy it for, just to get into the starter package thing, right? Kalrati, what about you? What do you think? Do people underestimate these ships?
I think so. One of the reasons why I'm glad that I learned to fly in the Aurora is because it gave me a lot of limitations, and it helped me to understand the capabilities of more performing ships. I learned to race in the Aurora back when we only had Arena Commander, we didn't have 2.0. So I did all that, all the 3 race courses.
Wow.
And when we had Crux Cup as well. I even, PvE and PvP still in the Aurora, and it's a really fun ship, and just flying it helps you to understand, the limitations, or kind of like when you fly a much more capable ship, it your performance it's just night and day, because you kind of understand the limitation that a ship like this can have, but also the capabilities of what that ship and subsequent ships and more performing ships can actually do. So I think in some cases persons do underestimate the Aurora in terms of many different aspects that it can satisfy.
Yeah. It does force you. It does force you. If there's a ship that's going to force you to build skill in doing anything, this is the one.
Definitely.
It can do some things, but it forces you to learn how to operate, in a certain way with this ship.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, FC?
It's a good ship to learn, because you don't want to use a more expensive ship that may take longer to reclaim from insurance. Yeah.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Can I ask Kalrati a quick question? So, which skins and paint job is your favorite?
Right. So
For the Aurora.
currently I have I think it's the Invictus skin, and I actually always use that. Before I had the green and yellow one. That for some reason it almost it always kind of attracted me. So it was just those 2 that I mainly had. So currently I'm using the Invictus one.
Because when CIG first started selling skins, the Aurora was like, one of the first ones that they had.
Yeah.
They didn't have that many ships out back then.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I will say
Just
this
the green and
about.
yellow.
I will say this about the Aurora. When they did the rework on it, the Aurora has one of the best field of views for your control panels
Yeah.
with any other ship. It is one
It's
of the few
amazing.
ships that you don't have to hold F down and move around to see all the MFDs. They are all right at the right level, but also in a position that allows you to have a great field of view around you. Now, you guys may think I'm kidding. If you've never been in Aurora, if you haven't monkeyed around with it, I'm telling you, best field of view for accessing all of your panels. You can set them up the way you want, see stuff, and don't have to be trying to hold F and move left and right to see your, I'm telling you, it is. I
Exactly.
actually, every time I get in it, I remember that. I said, man, I wish other ships layouts were like this, where you could just see everything right in front of your eyes instead of having to
Definitely.
hold up and look up and look down and all that stuff. So just want to let you guys know that. Okay. All right. Ship of choice here, fastcart. Out of those Auroras, which one's your ship of choice?
It's the tie between the LX and LN. If I could combine those two, take the seat out of the LN, put it in the LX, I'll be golden.
Okay. All right. Kalrati, your ship of
MR
choice?
for me.
MR?
I've had a bittersweet relationship with this ship. I've had a bug. I think it was in 2.1. It was so account specific, and of course we didn't have character reset at the time. Every single time I lifted off from an Aurora, about 5 seconds in, it was only the MR. It would stop functioning. I had to wait for a new patch and everything to be wiped. Even if I were to actually, I don't think
everything it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nope. Whatsoever. And yeah, so, and I don't know if I tried melting it and rebuying it. Well, no, I didn't, because that had the package with it. So I didn't try doing that. But yeah, but definitely the MR for me.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, LX, that's the one I like. That's very cool. And a lot of times you guys get these in your hangar, like you have an MR in there replacing something, whatnot. Take it out for a fly, even if you're going to meet somebody or something. You might be amazed at how much you like jumping that little ship, getting where you got to go, getting out, and if you got to leave it behind to rendezvous with somebody, you don't feel like you lost,
Right.
That, so it's something to consider. Okay?
Hey, you lost a lot, okay?
Yeah. All right, FC, if you wouldn't mind reading about the Mantis, the RSI Mantis.
Sure. The Mantis, top ship dead in a track with the RSI Premier Quantum Enforcer ship. The Mantis features a tailor-made quantum enforcing device from Whitetech, capable of ripping ships out of QT with its quantum snare and preventing hasty escape with its quantum dampener.
Now, there was a lot of excitement about this ship when it came out, FC. People were, I'm going to be pulling people out of quantum and stealing their stuff and blah, 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 blah. You don't see this sucker flying around no time hardly at all, okay? So what is going on with this ship that you think, what will make it, we know what it's supposed to be able to do. And it's not that people haven't used it for that before, but my question would be, what's going to make this ship something, before I'll ask Kalrati that question. Who is this ship for, Fastcart? Who will want this particular ship? Who's going to want to buy this?
Bounty hunters, pirates. I know you want to ask Kalrati, but my thought is when the game launches, there'll be trade lanes, and people will be using trade lanes to pirate ships for their cargo. That's my thought. Obviously, you're not gonna do it solo. You'll be doing it with a crew or just like that.
Okay.
So I think this is for pirate bounty hunters, near do wells, if you will.
Okay. Kalrati, question I'm gonna ask you is, what will make this ship practical? Now, let me explain what I mean. In Eve, we would do things where people would camp and drop what they call a bubble, so that when you would come through, you get caught in that bubble and it would pull you out of your speed thing. Now, that's a very localized area, right? Because the gate is only so big, and you can do a couple of those bubbles and and have it cover. This, I don't know what the radius is. I don't remember. Maybe somebody in chat remembers because they've changed things so much. I don't remember what the radius is on the burst on this, if it's 10 kilometer, 5 kilometer, 3 kilometer, whatever. But one ship in 3D space is infinitesimal. So what becomes the way for this ship? Does it take several of these ships to burst? I mean, even though Fastcart's mentioning trade lanes, you could still be 2 kilometers too high and miss it. So how will people be able to use these ships in a way that makes sense in the game?
Yeah, recently we heard of master modes, and from what I recall, one of the developers, it wasn't actually mentioned in the video,
Thanks for the follow.
but it was explained that they could possibly use and apply what we know of the Mantis, which is the quantum snare, the QED, to prevent someone from going into the quantum mode or the quantum control mode.
Yeah.
Right. And that can actually, allow or force persons to either think extra twice before going into a combat situation, be it PvP or PvE. Because let's say you actually decide, okay, let me go into this scenario, thinking that even for a PvE mission or PvE scenario, let me take these guys out. But they bring in their reinforcements, and it has a couple mantises. You can't flee if you are stuck at the SCM mode or whatever max SCM mode that you actually apply. So usually I think the max distance is about 30 to 40 kilometers, but you can't really escape a mantis, in cruise mode if you can't switch from SCM. So who knows, maybe the most you're going at is 500 meters per second or for the very most. So you're going to have to really carefully decide if you go into situations a lot more, not just because of the master modes, but because of what this mantis can actually offer players who are using it.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Thrakazak says, says that heat signatures and trade lanes, once we start getting that in, that will be helpful too in the use of these. You guys know that when they first put this out in the game, you could just use it anytime you wanted to. Then later CIG went in and put in jurisdictional rules. If you fired it within where there's an antenna, you can get a fine. I don't know if that's still in place, but I remember that was the issue. It minimized people just firing off all the time, unless they were willing to, take the crime stat in order to do that. My thing about this ship is that this can bite you also in the butt, right? Because you could pull the wrong person out of quantum. You know what I mean? A lot of times we see like the commercial, he's gonna pull the caterpillar out and you're gonna come rob it, right? And mind you, we all know this, you gotta have a bunch of people with you, because even if you're the person who stops the ship, there gotta be other people that do the declaration or piracy or whatever the case may be, the bounty hunting.
Yeah.
But what happens when you decide to put that sucker on and you're in your mantis and you've got like your 2 or 3 fighters, but you happen to yank a freaking hammerhead out of quantum?
I was thinking that would be the worst matchup for hammerhead.
Yeah, so my question becomes, is there going to be some way to detect what it is you're pulling out of quantum? That you can literally, I don't know what it may be, right? When somebody's in quantum and they're headed towards you, but maybe there's something that if you're doing some type of active, weird scan, long range scan, you get like about a 3-second, 5-second burst of something that's coming towards you that helps you determine whether you want to ignite that boost or not. I'm just curious, because I'm just like, are you just randomly throwing that bubble up? I
thought,
I don't know.
my thought is that
mess around and find out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My thought is you have, if you're in a trade lane or something like that, you would have a buddy or a teammate on the planet watching people take off and go in a certain direction, and then notify them via comm.
And some people have done that.
Coming away.
Some people have done that. Some people have hung out at OM sites too, because they know that people come into an OM area, and you just, now mind you, the problem with that is you can come in from any angle too. You know what I mean?
You can come in
but if you're coming in like
from
if they know, like for example, they know you're coming from Hurston directly to R-Corp, you are going to come in on a certain approach.
Like I could imagine like people coming from Microtech would be a good target, because that has a lot people are picking up buying components and stuff like that. But yeah,
if they happen to catch a trade ship, hopefully you don't catch an empty coming back. But I get it. Okay, well that's the Mantis gang. That's the Mantis. Okay, very cool, very cool. Let's move on to the next one. I'll read this one. This is the Scorpius. From RSI's expert research and development teams in Killian, and the same engineers that brought you some of the galaxy's most vaunted war machines, comes the next evolution in heavy combat, interception, and defense, the RSI Scorpius. With an adaptable bi-wing configuration and revolutionary rail-mounted remote turret, the Scorpius offers unprecedented fire coverage, allowing for both defensive and assault-minded applications. FC, I'm gonna go to you on this one. This ship caused a lot of stir when folks saw it. When they saw it, talk about that a little bit. What are your feelings about this ship?
First, I just want to say this is what the Aurora should have been. Cause this looks like an upgraded Aurora. For first of all,
well, you know what? Can I say something real quick before you say that? Some of you saw. I think we even showed it. Remember, someone did do a diagram of the Aurora with a variation on the wing configuration after this came out, and a lot of people thought it was a very cool adapting for an upgrade to the ship. So CIG, I hope you guys do take a look at that, because that was innovative. It looked and it made sense. It wasn't just that it was a cool factor. It made sense about the ship, because the aerodynamics of the cockroach, that wing configuration looks better on the other one. All right, unless you're a flying cockroach, right? If you're a flying cockroach, right? Okay, go ahead, fastcart. Let's talk about this one.
No, I was gonna say. So basically, it looked like a ship from a certain franchise, and that drove the community. I don't want to say bonkers or mad, but it gave them hype, gave them a lot of excitement, and people said, "Oh, that's my ship. I'm gonna buy it because it looks just like the other ship." And so, yeah, I mean, and I think CIG made a great decision in concepting and making that ship.
But interestingly enough, fastcart, you talked about this, not just that franchise. There's another franchise that the ship is much closer to in its design.
Babylon 5.
Yeah, right. I mean, talk about
Babylon
it.
5
Talk about it, because a lot of people don't know that if they never watched the series.
Okay, so Babylon 5 had this ship called the Starfarer. It's similar to the Scorpius in that it has the wings. Except on the Starfarer, they have these thrusters and stuff on the outside of the wing, as opposed to the weapon being on the cockpit part of the ship. So yeah, I mean, and throughout sci-fi history, there's been 4-wing ships coming and going.
Exactly.
But those are the ones that are the most popular.
Yeah, it's just it's a configuration that we've seen on a lot of different ships if you follow any type of science fiction stuff. But obviously we know that the Star Wars franchise is the one that resonates probably the most in popularity. But you do see the influences from multiple places with this ship, because definitely the turret is an influence, the swept wing, the configuration is an influence. Very cool ship. Kalrati, what do you think about the Scorpius?
Yeah, so I remember at first when we heard of the amount of guns that was on the ship, a lot of persons, including myself, were concerned. Okay, is CIG really going to release a ship that they'll have to massively nerf as soon as it's released? Because we were thinking, okay, feature 4 size 2s, which of course were gimbal, so you could outfit it with 4 size 3s fixed on the wings, and of course 4 size 3s on the turrets. But in the end, I haven't heard, at least. Maybe there was still some contention, of course, because game balancing has to occur, but I haven't heard as much meta talk with regards to the Scorpius. I could be, not really looking as much, but I think they did a relatively well job with regards to balancing it. I have flown it with a couple of companions of mine. In terms of maneuverability, I think it performs rather well, or rather not too well that you would, always go to the Scorpius. But I think it actually fits well in terms of the balancing. Of course, there's always room for extra balancing. But yeah, the only design thing that I'm actually concerned, or not concerned, but I'm thinking of is the use for the retractable turret, because currently, because of how 6 degree of freedom space is, you don't necessarily need that whole really use that retractable section as much. Of course, if you were in atmosphere and you were fleeing or so, I can definitely see the use for something like that, where the remote pilot can actually go and retract the turret to the rear, so that when you're fleeing, that can be used more. So there are certain aspects that, like such as that, in other ships too, that I think would it's not being used at the moment, but I think it's currently just sleeping until we get more gameplay privileges to make use of it. So I like it. I don't fly it as often, but I think eventually I'll buy it in game.
Yeah. Do you guys think this ship shines as a single person fighter, or when you've got 2 people in the ship? Or does it make a difference to you?
I'll say real quick, I've PvP'd with someone who didn't have a turret, and I was in a Reliant, and things didn't go so well for them. I mean, it could have been, just because of skill, because I mean, all these things depend on skill. But I would say that it definitely shines brightest with regards to having someone else in the turret. I mean, someone like Avenger 1, he can most likely dominate anyone if he's flying by himself, right? But I think once again, it shines best with regards to when it comes to having someone else in the ship.
Can I say 2 things? One thing about the I'm surprised that you haven't heard anything about being nerfed, because that was another controversy about the concept or the release of the ship, and yeah, I'm surprised that this one has a nerve. Whereas typically that's not what you hear.
But if you remember,
something.
remember Fastcart CIG said they told us they wouldn't nerf it.
Mm,
They actually
yeah,
did. Remember,
you're right.
remember the community mentioned it and they said we're going to leave it alone for
Yeah,
now.
they're
For
not
now,
gonna
we're
nerf
going to leave it alone for now.
Yeah, you're right, for now. Something else. Samuel said that Babylon 5 is a great story, but honestly, he wants CIG to make an original iconic ship without influence from other shows and movies. I wanted to address that because it's so hard to do because there's like 50, 60 years plus years of sci-fi history that you can't make something without it looking something that looking like something that's come before. As time goes by, it gets increasingly harder to do.
Yeah, it's difficult because of the subconscious too, right? Because even if I sat down and said I'm going to make something that nobody's ever seen before, my subconscious is trying to push stuff into my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some freaking B movie I saw from 1952, you know, that nobody's seen, and that image just, I'm not thinking about it, but it's, you know, it's like, oh, that would be cool, you know. And then I realized, man, this was in, you know, it came from outer space, you know what I mean? So it's, you know,
especially as an artist.
Yeah, it is difficult.
I mean, draw inspiration from these things.
Yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's an interesting prospect of what you're suggesting, to make a concerted effort, a real concerted effort to say, can we create something? Now, I'll tell you something that was weird to me, even though I hate to mention it, Kalrati. That first concept drawing of that bad new merchantman, I couldn't tell what was the front or the back on that thing. That was a weird looking ship, man. I was like, what direction is this thing going?
Not even his mother's gonna
I'm
like
talking about that spiky one. You know what I'm talking about? That was a weird freaking thing. But to Fastcart's point, we've seen other shows now where that spiky looking weird thing, that urchin looking thing is in other ships, you know, so it is definitely a difficult thing to do. Yeah. Okay.
I could tell, but maybe it's just because I don't know. I could tell which one's the fun, which one's the bad. But I can see how other people would be confused.
Yeah. Well, the Scorpius for me, I think it's a great ship. I think I hate to say this, I own one and I've never flown it. I took it out. I took it out to look at it because I said I wanted to go out with somebody, and I just haven't taken it out to go out with somebody and do it. So maybe the next time one of the events comes up, that'll be a great time to take it out and break it in. But yeah,
this commercial,
I have to like Xenothreat or something.
That's what I was going to say for like Xeno, but I hate to say it, Fastcart. I bought it strictly for the nostalgia. I really did.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I did. No, I did. I bought it because of the nostalgia, and I just thought it was definitely a cool ship. So I think it's very good.
Yeah, I didn't get one for the nostalgia. If I do get one, it'll probably be in game, not using real money.
Fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Kalrati, I'm gonna drop this one on you. The RSI Apollo.
All right, the RSI Apollo Triage. The legendary Apollo chassis from Robert Space Industries is the gold standard in medevac and rapid emergency response, having provided critical aid to the known universe for well over 2 centuries. Now for the medevac. Along with the superior armor and dual missile racks, the 2948 Apollo medevac model pays homage to the classic 2910 film, Astromedics, Back from the Brink. I like to see that. With livery that accurately recreates the headlining Kythara. Kythara? Not sure how to pronounce that one, but yeah.
Yeah, Kythara. Yeah, that's about as close as I think we're going to get on that one. Okay. Listen, this was another ship that caught a lot of people's attention, particularly people who wanted to get into the whole medicine thing, right? The whole medical career. We had the Cuddy Red around for a long time. But then this became the next one. I know we've talked about the Endeavor before for its hospital, but this was kind of like the ship that was much more for the serious person that really wants to get into medical. It's got an interesting layout on it. It has 6 beds in it, 3 of which can be removed. I think they're all tier 1 beds or something like that. And then you can upgrade to a tier 3 or tier 2. I think you have to lose a couple of them in order to get the bed that restores people completely. It also has, on the screen right now, you're seeing that there is a levitating kind of table that comes out of the bottom of the ship that lowers down, I guess via tractor beam or something like that. Put a wounded person on there, and then it comes back up via tractor beam or some magnetic field for people to have access. And as you said, Kalrati, there are two models of these: the red and the white. The red being the triage, and the white being the medevac versions of these. I'll go with you first, Kalrati, on the Apollo. Any thoughts on them? Do you own one? I won't say have you flown one because that'd be terrible to say. But yeah, give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah, so I do believe I got the red colored one when it first came out, but it's no longer in my hangar right now. That was replaced by something else, like, which I can't remember. That was when I was just buying ships and just. But anyway, it was a really nice idea, and there are certain aspects. There's a lot of persons in the community that really want the ship to come on board, and I think even looking back in the recent CitizenCon, there are some aspects that they're working toward to actually make this such a thing possible. For example, we saw I think it was the cryopod, the hovering cryopod, and we were seeing footage where the person was carrying it or pushing it, and of course, this is possibly going to be something that's related to the med beds and being able to carry the patients from point A to point B. Use a tractor beam to lift them up or drop that med bed down. So as a result, I feel like one of the reasons outside of priority, of course, in leasing these ships, is to just get certain design aspects ready, certain assets like the hover beds and such ready to actually make this shine. I think if I recall, they had put it back onto the roadmap, then they took it out, then it's back in the progress tracker. I can't quite remember. Yeah. But hopefully, if it is there, that it stays there and we can finally get it. I think it's next year it's scheduled for. Someone can correct me on that. So that we can finally see, how it can be used.
FC?
Yes, I have not flown it, but I expect to get plenty of use out of them when the game launches. I expect I'll be consistently using someone's services with these ships. And I just want to say, I'm excited for people who have these ships, because people who want to do medical gameplay, they love these ships and stuff like that. So I'm excited for people who have them and want to do that stuff.
Yeah. You're talking about influences on ships, and for this, there's an influence here for me. We know this is under the RSI label. We know what the Connies look like, and I hate to say this is a weird thing, but I just noticed it. The Connie to me is the Enterprise D. I'm sorry, the Enterprise A, and then this is like the equivalent of like the Enterprise D. You know how on the Enterprise D they squatted the engines in tighter and brought them forward, and the body became much bigger? It's like they did the same thing with this versus the Connie. The Connie has that much bigger length, and then when they got to this, they kind of squished it in this way, and they made the head of it is bigger, just like how the Enterprise D is, but then the engines in the back. See how that look is right there? That just kind of reminds me, and that might have been just a subconscious influence, or maybe it's just me subconsciously seeing it, but it's an interesting ship. Fastcart,
Griffin, as far as I go, I got one thing to say to you. No bloody A, B, C, or D. Scotty's line from the TNG episode.
Yes, I remember. Thank you. You're showing your age.
A lot might not know, but
these guys won't know anything about that. Yeah, exactly. Interesting ship. Like you said, it's a step up from the Cutlass Red, which is 2 beds. Now we're moving up to 6 beds, right? I think it has a crew complement of 4, 3 or 4 is something like that is the complement. We've got people right now in the game like Sigelian, right? Everybody knows Sigelian is into his fueling company, providing fueling services, and he's been living on his Starfarer. I mean, he literally loads up on his Starfarer and stays in the verse and stays on his Starfarer. And my question is, do you think people will be doing this with medical? Do you think there'll be people who will just hang out in their medical ships? I've been doing it with the Cuddy Red. I've been basing myself in, I hate to say it because I don't want to let Colossal know, but I'll stay at Hurston. And I put myself at Hurston because Hurston is centrally located to access all the planets. And I'm there with my Cuddy Red with a red uniform, red armor. I've got the Cuddy Red loaded up with all the med guns and all the stuff on it. And when somebody asks for a rescue beacon, I go and respond from there and do it from Hurston. Do you think people will
And
do that? Hmm?
I actually to store the answer I was going to give. I say yes, but when the Endeavor comes in, so yeah, I think people will be definitely staying on the Endeavor. I don't know, maybe the Apollo too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably see some people doing the Apollo, but
See, I see
definitely
the
yes for the
Endeavor is
Endeavor.
different. The Endeavor, listen.
The hospital, the Hope
No.
class,
Listen. The Hope class hospital has 5 floors to it. Okay, it's a whole nother. That ain't no mobile response thing. You know what I mean? You're out there maybe because your org is out
it's
there.
very slow. It's very slow.
Yeah, but that's
Every
a
time you
whole
rescue
nother
someone there,
level. Yeah, that's
it's
a
best they
whole.
just-
Yeah, thank you, Ops Chief. It's a space station. That's a whole nother level. But I get what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I get what you're saying. But I guess I was just kind of curious as to, rapid response is what we kind of look at the cut you read as being. And again, they mentioned the difference between these as being triage and medevac, which is interesting that they distinguish them as being different, because triage is what happens immediately after an accident. It's when you're assessed and it's determined like how bad your injuries are, what level of, are you hurt bad enough that, you can wait, or you're hurt so bad that we've got to deal with you now. Medevac is the one that's usually, it's that medicine is evacuation. You're called in to get people out of a hot zone and get them, because they've been injured badly. They can no longer function. They've got a broken leg or they've been knocked out unconscious. So it's a little bit different response. And again, did CIG give them these labels because they were cool medical terms, or did they give them to them because evidently gameplay's involved? Now, we do know the medevac version, you read this, Kalrati, has greater armament and weapons, right? That's the trade-off on it. It's also slower because of that. It doesn't have the speed that the triage version has, where it moves in and out a little bit faster. But it seems that the layouts on them are very similar internally. Internally, it seems like the layouts are pretty close.
No, just to touch quickly on something that Zombie had said, where I think he really likes getting into the whole medical and support role. That term support, we see it a lot on and your regular MMOs. I would say MMORPG, even though Star Citizen isn't an RPG, but you would see these classes be sometimes sidelined, even though they're very, very important to a group, or in this case, a fleet or service. And it's, the fact that CIG actually released ships like these can really mean that they're continuing to actually, bring these support roles to the front, right? To actually show, hey, you can actually have a career or profession like this. And, personally, I've never been someone who's been much of a healer in MMOs, but, seeing when I first saw this ship, I realized, hey, they're really serious about, giving persons who really like doing these kinds of support roles their own kind of identity. And I'm really, really excited to see these kinds of things in action later on in the game.
Okay. All right. Good.
Before we move on, I just have one last thing to say. Where does it hurt? That's a StarCraft thing. People can remember that.
I don't know.
So the constellation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do the constellation here. Constellation Taurus. Enjoy the adventure of a multi-crew constellation on a budget. The Constellation Taurus is dedicated freighter, fully configurable, but without all the bells and whistles. The Taurus is a great way to get started with a crewed ship. Then there's the Andromeda. Constellation Andromeda, multi-person freighter, is the most popular ship in RSI's current production array. Constellations are beloved by smugglers and merchants alike because they are modular, high-powered, and just downright iconic looking. The Aquila. Explore any distant horizons. The Constellation Aquila, or Akia, however you want to pronounce it, features a redesigned cockpit for maximum visibility, advanced sensors, and an onboard Ursa rover for planetary exploration. Let's see what's out there. And last but not least, the Phoenix, a dedicated luxury spacecraft for the discerning star captain. The Constellation Phoenix can be operated as an organization command ship and features a luxurious redesigned interior. The Phoenix comes with a Lynx rover and the Kruger P-72 Archimedes fighter. Let's also mention the fact that both the Andromeda and the Aquila come with the P-52 Merlin made by Kruger as well. The Taurus is the only one that does not come with the Parasite Snub Fighter. FC, your thoughts about the Connie series?
Yeah, the Phoenix, man. That's one of my first love when it came to Star Citizen. I love the interior of the Phoenix, the wood panel and the interior. That one speaks more to me of luxury, more so than the like a 600 or the other Origin ship. I know it's a matter of preference, but like I said it before, the Origin ships seem too clean, too pristine. But the Phoenix, yes, that except for the front half of the Phoenix, that seems more, utilitarian. I guess it would, you might say, but I love the back of the Phoenix. And like I said before, the Taurus was my first constellation, my physical package. So yes, I've been waiting for that to come out for a long time. It came out, but I was like, by that time I had the MSR and some other ships, so that's why I upgraded it to a different ship.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question, because there was, other than the economics dynamic of it, was there a particular reason why you went with the Taurus?
Economics. Yeah, it was the cheapest silver package available when I backed.
Okay.
So it was economic.
Okay.
And at the time I knew I was going to get into cargo transport. I knew I was going to be industry rather than combat. So
Gotcha.
that's why I went with the Taurus instead of like a Hornet or something else.
Gotcha. Okay. Kalrati, he talked a little bit about the Taurus and the Phoenix. You got any thoughts on the Andromeda or the Aquila?
Yeah, so the Andromeda commercial was one of the first ones that really blew me away and pulled me into the game, or kind of not really pulled, but resonated that feeling that I really wanted to go into something like this. And when I tried the Andromeda, one of the things that I really liked about it was that one day we will have that ship-to-ship docking, and then lo and behold, eventually we got it. And I used that feature time and time again. And just a matter of the usability of the Andromeda, space to house a rover or any particularly classed vehicle of that size, its firepower, its its weaponry, its defense. I really like the balance of it. I really like how it operates. And just to really go back to the Taurus, I think if they I don't remember if the reason why they didn't put a dockable snub fighter in the back was due to size constraint or just for balancing purposes. But I can definitely say if they had put a dockable snub at the back of that Taurus, it would be Taurus for me all the way, because cargo, great cargo, a snub fighter, you have the beds there, everything that would have just satisfied me. And I think just to give satisfaction and balance to other ships, I think maybe apart from the design constraints, like the size constraints, that's part of the reason why they didn't put the snub fighter there. It's kind of sucked, but yeah. So, but the Constellation series in total are ships that I've always respected. Even though the Taurus was definitely the first Constellation ship that I got to look around in my hangar.
Yeah.
May I add something real quick?
Sure.
I forgot to say it. I owned the Aquila myself for like several years. That was going to be my primary exploration ship. Because not only does it come with a ship, come with a snow fighter, it comes with a rover, so that when you land, you can drive around and see stuff. Like it was a nice package. Is the wrong thing to say, but it was a nice ship that covered a lot of ground and for a price. But then they had to go and increase the price of the Aquila from 275 to 310. So it became less economical. Basically, you're getting a $50 Ursa rover included in that price.
Agreed.
And it has a scanner too, so I guess eventually that scanning function is definitely going to play, especially for the explorers out there.
That's one of the things that I've been looking for, because this commercial that we're seeing right now, the first time we saw this, the Aquila, it had the scanning station. And for those of you all who've never been in Aquila, there, the upper turret area is they've changed it, they modified it now, but that's a huge scanning package up there. But there was also in the cockpit area there's a whole area over there for science and scanning. And so I've been really curious to see how CIG is going to do that. Because when you go inside the Connies now, that front area, you just see the component areas and that's it. But I am curious to see how they're going to build all that out later on so that it actually becomes viable in the sense of, and there we go there with the animation. We start seeing some stuff in relation to exploration getting put in on that ship. The other thing is that the Andromeda out of this group is actually labeled as a gunship. And I honestly have seen people take the Andromeda and put what are those things called?
Battlers?
No. I don't want to say the word. Retribution is not the word. What's the word? Attritions. I've seen people put attritions on this thing.
Yeah.
Dude.
It shreds. It shreds.
It shreds. Oh my God. It's like, don't underestimate it. Now, I don't know how this thing performs now. Okay. And I know a lot of people don't like the Connies because of the way they handle.
The way they handle, exactly. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I upgraded.
Yeah, in relation to combat. But as far as flying them, I love flying them. I always used to think it was kind of crazy that they had the turbines on the sides, you know, for VTOL. Still a little feel funny about that, but I will say they do look cool. When they're lit up at night, they do look cool. So in atmosphere, it makes sense. It's an interesting ship. It's been around a good length of time. It is armed to the teeth. Tons of missiles on it. It could be a formidable ship in the hands of the right person. The Phoenix, as we know, had a major reworking done on it before it was, let's say, on the gaudy side of things when it was first made, and they definitely made it better, but the layout for me needs to be a little bit better. The Taurus, because of the fact, like you said, fastcart, we waited a long time for the Taurus, its design was laid out better and laid well. Some of you all may remember that one of the advantages of getting a Taurus was that it had a smuggling compartment built into it, and in the original design, it was behind the pilot seat. There was no lower turret because the smuggling area was there, and now it looks like what they did is move it from there to the rear area that would be between cargo and where the snub fighter would be, because it's a different type of insulation and there's a grid back there. So I'm almost assuming that that's going to be the area where that's at. And what they did do that we didn't know about was they put the tractor beam in on the Taurus on the lower level now too. So that's added a new element for people, like fastcart said, who might be interested in trade and cargo. So that's it. That's my background on those 4 ships. It's a popular ship that's been around a long time, but you know, for some people they've moved past the Connies, but there are other people who still stay pretty tried and true to the ship. Yeah, FC, go ahead.
Yeah, just one last thing. So there are other variants of this, especially for the Phoenix, called the Constellation Emerald. That comes out during St. Patrick's Day. Yep. They have an in-law holiday for that. But I've been begging CIG for years now to come up with a Constellation Black for Black History Month. I really hope CIG will do that, because I think that would look awesome. I have the Phoenix behind me. That this is the normal Phoenix. I think it would look great in a black skin. So please, CIG.
It would be nice, fastcart, but unfortunately, you're speaking as an American.
Yeah, I know.
St. Patty's Day is globally recognized. Black History Month is not globally, right? So much for that. Like, it's like we get the Asian Chinese thing for the red celebration, right? But it's global, you know, so that makes a difference. So okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one here, and that's going to be the Perseus. FC, want to talk about this one a little bit?
Oh, if I can bring it up real quick, there it is. Perseus. When LSI set out to make their definitive modern statement in a persuasive prevention, they looked into their own past to the historic gunship designated Perseus. Capable of shredding subcapital ship class Goliath, the mere presence of a Perseus gunship in a blockade or patrol squad is enough to make your most aggressive enemies think twice before engaging, just like its vintage namesake.
Okay, the Perseus. Interesting ship when this came out, fastcart. I didn't know what to say about the Perseus. It came out at a weird time.
When?
It came out at a weird time.
No, when did it come out? You can tell that.
Yeah. I don't mean like calendar wise. I mean at the time of what was going on, because people were and still do clamoring for the Polaris. And it was so reminiscent of the Polaris to me, even though when you look deeper into it, you do see that it is a different design. But it was an interesting, Corvette slash frigate slash speed runner. I don't know. It's an interesting ship. Blockade runner. I don't know. It's an interesting ship. A lot of people like it because it doesn't take this larger crew. I think it only crew is like 4 to 6 to crew it, something like that. It's not like a huge amount of people, minimum max crew, whatever. But there was controversy about this ship too because it was expensive. It was not cheap. But RSI, this is another one of their, we read it in the lore, they do have some ships that they do bring in on the military side. I think it has a big size 7 cannon on the front of it, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a size 7. I didn't look at the stats on it. I've kind of forgotten.
I have it here.
Yeah, but any thoughts about the Perseus? Yeah, any thoughts about the Perseus?
Go ahead.
So, like you said, Griff, when it first came out, I kept thinking, and all I could say is I'll have to reserve my right to give feedback on it when it comes out. I mean, definitely we do have a gunship like the Hammerhead and such, and of course this is RSI. So I'm just curious to see, okay, does it complement in terms of its size, in terms of performance per size, and how it pretty much actually can hold its own, given the environment that it's supposed to or it's thought to be best in or best suited in, right? So I mean, I can't remember the scale difference between the Perseus and the Hammerhead. But we do see how capable the Hammerhead is in the right conditions, and given the firepower.
It's 100 meters long and 50 meters wide.
Okay. So I mean, I guess we'll see. That's as far as I can say, really. Yeah.
FC, any thoughts about this one?
It's a big combat ship. I didn't really have any interest in it. It wasn't for it. I mean, maybe I'll have a couple of my fleet for protection, but yes, it wasn't in my my play style.
I've got 2 questions. Anybody can answer in chat or see if you've got the information. What size torpedoes are that it fires, and what is the what was the price on this?
Size 5.
There's only size 5s.
Size 5 according to the Detroit, and it's $675 US.
I remember it was like 600 when it came out. That's crazy. I thought those torpedoes were bigger. I thought like they were like maybe size 7s or something like that.
Well, I mean, it has size 7.
Yeah, but size 5s are on a freaking Harbinger. That's why I mean, I thought maybe these were a little bit bigger. I mean, they look bigger. There might be a different type of torpedo too. I don't know. Yeah, it is a gunboat. Yeah, it is. And obviously we're expecting to have much more agility and speed than we would see with the Polaris, It's an interesting ship. We'll see. I agree with you, Kalrati. I'm kind of holding my reserve on this one.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll put this out before the Polaris because of design similarities. Well, it's a smaller version. It's a smaller version. The Polaris is a bigger ship. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I know the Polaris people will be screaming bloody murder.
The Polaris. It'll probably get bigger. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets bigger by the time this thing comes out. So it's closer to Polaris size.
Okay, Shady Phase. Wow, 24 size 5s. Okay, 24 size 5s. That's a lot. Okay. All right, that's the Perseus. Let's keep it rolling. Speaking of the devil, right? Kalrati, why don't you go ahead and talk about this one here?
All right, the RSI Polaris is a nimble Corvette-class capital ship that packs a powerful punch with full armament of turrets and torpedoes. Intended for use as both a naval patrol ship and to serve as the flagship of militia operations, Polaris has the capacity to perform search and rescue operations, fight, strike missions, and general security patrols, or light strike missions. Polaris includes the facilities to repair, rearm, and refuel a single fighter, light bomber, or support ship.
Okay. Polaris, fastcart. Remember the price on this? This was because I mean, the difference between this and the Perseus were like really close. It was like,
Yeah, they were.
like this is like
If I recall.
$700 or something like that, right?
$750 right now.
Yeah, man, that's like
Okay.
super close, you know.
And I think that's why a lot of persons are really looking forward to it, like the things that it does
Mhm.
on its own, and the kind of support that it can give to other ships as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing is, you got two ships from RSI named which starting with the letter P. I mean, I personally get the Perseus and Polaris confused.
Yeah,
I know the
mixed up.
Polaris is
Yeah.
older.
Yeah, interesting thing about this is many of you all know CIG has announced or has told us that they did do some reworking on this ship. They went back and did some things, and one of the things that they did was they expanded, from my understanding, the hangar area on the ship a little bit. One of the things I did not like about the Polaris when it first came out, and I've said this on the show before, is that I'm not that crazy about it having, at least when you watch the visuals, there was only able to hold one fighter. I felt like if this is an escort ship, it should be able to hold two fighters, one fighter out there, and then a wingman. You know what I mean? That's the way I've always seen it. I feel the same way about the Banu Merchantman. I wish that they would provide it so that there was a pilot and wingman that could go out in tandem to defend a ship versus just one single fighter. But they said they've expanded it, and I think, and some people just told me recently that it is big enough that you can get like two arrows in it, or you can get two of certain fighters in it now. So I think that's pretty cool. This ship is definitely one to look forward to in the sense of it escorting. I think the torpedoes in it are size 10s. I thought they were size 12s back in the day because CIG did show us size 12 torpedoes at one point, but somebody told me or corrected me and said, no, they're size 10s. But I do know that whatever size they are, they're going to be expensive. And I think this thing holds like 24 torpedoes as well. So maybe if somebody's got the stats on that or the chart, they could.
Yeah, it says 4x10 torpedo 7. That's what it says on the spec sheet.
4
And
times
2x10
10.
torpedo 7. I think it's probably size 7, or maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't copy and paste. It
Oh,
doesn't matter,
12s
but
are in
it
the
says-
javelin. Okay, thank you, Quinn. 12s are in the javelin. Size 12s. Yeah, thank you, Shady. Tube says 28 torpedoes. Okay, got you. Okay. 7 per rack. Okay, got you. And it's
Oh, so 4x7.
Oh, 7 per rack? Okay.
Got you. Okay, 28 torpedoes. I know it's a lot of them.
Right.
It ain't gonna be cheap to restock that bad fellow, that's for sure.
And it also said 2x3 missiles, 2BC, parentheses 16 in the middle. So
Okay.
it definitely carries some missiles and torpedoes.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Interesting. I don't own one. I know a couple people who love it and they've been looking forward to this ship for quite a while. It's still, in the works supposedly. CIG told us a few months back that they had not started working on it, which was interesting. They also told us the length of time it would take for a ship similar to this, which was 2 years for full development for a ship like the Polaris, which is interesting. And a lot of times people wonder why does it take so long to make these ships? Because, I think we look at them from the external and even the internal and figure, it shouldn't take a year or 2 years to make these ships. But
and this is after the design process has already been streamlined to such an extent.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it was back in the day, right? The process is faster than it used to be. But these ships are, man, it's hard to describe it. I don't want to sound like I'm always like I'm trying to defend CIG, but the more I learn about the development process and what they're doing, the more I start to get it. You know what I mean? Because it's like these ships have wiring running through them. They have conduits running through them. There's ventilation systems for life support. I mean, they're literally there. They're not decorative things on the wall. And you've got to be able to put all that stuff, make it work. Rooms that can have vacuums, where oxygen can be turned off and on, gravity fields.
Fire suppression.
You get fire suppression. I mean, there's so much stuff that has to go into these ships to make them work. You guys remember back in the day that just being able to make the grid so that you could walk across the floor of your ship while it's moving. It's a lot of work there. I mean, it's no small thing. And then when you're moving from module to module or section to section, As some of you all may remember how you used to walk through certain areas of ships or through certain doorways and oxygen would disappear, you know, when you go through it. Yeah, you know, and you're like, how come there's a whole lot to these ships, and the bigger they get, there's a lot more work that goes into them. So just something to think
I remember
about.
one time during IAE, I was exploring one of the caterpillars on a planet, and I walked into this area, and my character started suffocating, and the doors were wide open.
Yeah, they haven't put that engineering stuff in yet, so the oxygen will flow from room to room yet, right? I know. But anyway, that's the Polaris. They had a great commercial. For those of you, I know you're wondering why you're seeing all the military stuff, but this was part of one of the commercials for the UEE when they introduced the Polaris, and people were really excited about it. But now it's
I hope that when the Polaris comes out, people will be excited and happy with it. Because I mean, people know that standing for the Venom Mission and other stuff, the longer something takes them to come out, the better it'll be.
Absolutely.
So, look forward to it.
Less chance of a rework too, you know, closer to gold standard when it comes out.
Yeah, the gold standard when it comes out, exactly.
Yeah. All right, we got one more to hit. And this is the big granddaddy. Fastcart, you want to read this one? The RSI Orion.
After Orion, Robert Space Industries' goal has always been to make the stars available to individual citizens. Now with the RSI Orion mining platform, RSI is letting individuals take over a process formerly controlled by a mega corporation. The Orion features include high-grade turret-mounted tractor beam arrays, plenty of mineral storage, and a cabin designed by the team that had brought you the Aurora and Constellation. The listed cargo capacity is only for the dedicated cargo room and does not account for the mine material capacity and the storage pod, which will be detailed later.
Yeah, it's good stuff. The video you guys are looking at right now, the shot, take a look at that. That's showing you the Orion's new size versus the old size, how it has grown dramatically. The ship at the top up there, believe it or not, is a Constellation. So that'll give you an idea of the scale of this ship. It is literally one of the largest ships. It is the largest of the industrial ships, but it's also one of the well, no, it's not larger than the Hull E. Is it? Hull E
I'm looking at it now. The Orion
thing.
is 170 meters in length, 50 meters or wide. And you want to know the Hull E?
What's the length on the Hull E? Yeah, I think the Hull E might still be bigger.
The Hull E is 372.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this thing has grown. Now the numbers that Fastcart's giving us too, I don't think those are the new numbers. Because you said it's what?
Yeah, the Orion is 170, but that was 2 months ago.
Updated 2 months ago? So it's almost 200 meters. That's what it said. 200, almost 2. Okay, yeah, that might be right.
Okay.
That might be right.
It says 170 on the spec. Yeah, but like I said, this is the RSI site. So.
Yep. So it is a monster of a ship, and we've talked about the Orion when we did our industrial strength series, and we talked about what it's going to take to even manage a ship like this. I think this ship has 5 or 7 positions, different distinct positions of operation just to get it to run. And if you notice, they didn't call it a mining ship; they called it a mining platform.
Mining platform.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mini station.
Yeah. I mean, you put this thing out there and park it, and that's it. You just go out and park it, and you suck everything to you. You know, I mean, yeah, you can navigate some, but those big spinning things, man, you ain't trying to navigate through no asteroid belt flying around.
Definitely not.
You're asking for it.
Can you imagine with the size of the ship if it went from suck to blow? I'm full of them tonight. I'm just full of them tonight.
Yeah, you're full of it tonight. I will grant you that. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, the Orion is a popular ship amongst those who are miners. It is the ultimate mining ship for people who are into mining. You know, we've got the Prospector, we've got the Mole. CIG just a couple weeks ago announced that they're going to come up with a third mining ship that will fit somewhere between it. But this ship, obviously, as cool as it may be, it's not for everybody. This is definitely something I think for orgs, right? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I can see people. Maybe when it first came out, people said, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this ship and put a whole bunch of blades in it, and I'll be able to fly it solo and do everything solo." Yeah, that's not the way this is gonna work.
Yeah. There's if you guys don't ever get to look at the design or document for this ship, CIG did a very intense, and it was Tony Z. He did a really intense layout of how this ship is supposed to operate. And unlike right now where you go out with a Mole or a Prospector and you just scan, you find a rock, you hit it, you keep your beam within a certain range, and you go. On the Orion, you'll be able to scan rocks for type of material, seismic activity, analysis. There's the aspect of using the lasers to cut. There is a tractor beam area where stuff is brought in on a conveyor belt, and there is a refinery in the back of the ship as well. So that's like 6 positions right there. And then there's a pilot position. So there's a lot to do on this ship, and you're not going to go out here with 1 person or 2 people and do it on an Orion. You know.
Exactly. And
I mean, it's good, but it's not recommended.
and that's why I'm very, very curious, even though this has to do with salvaging, I'm very, very curious as to, what the whole multi-crew experience is going to be like and how that's going to evolve, starting from possibly the Reclaimer, because we know that with the cargo refactor, we'll add some more multi-crew elements to the whole capital utilitarian ship experience. And just something as, just managing cargo in that Retaliator, it will give us some extra, maybe idea of what kind of human resources we may need for something like this.
Yeah.
Of course, that coupled with the new interim, I think, it definitely won the vote. Next RSI mining ship for them to get some, design languages down there to help, when it's time for them to design the Orion. A lot of nice aspects are coming together to give us some hints as to what the Orion may be like and how it may, form when it comes out.
Yeah. Agent, thank you for posting that, because I knew I wasn't completely crazy. I know I'm crazy, but not completely. The only reason why I say that is because the Starfarer is 100 meters long. And this thing is way bigger than a Starfarer.
Yeah.
What he said here is that the video is showing the 170 meter version, which is the middle one. The other one is 340 meters. So that is the difference in size. Because I mean, look at the Connie. You can look at the length of the Connie. That's why I said I know the Orion's really big. The new numbers on it are big. So he's saying it's 340.
And who knows what's going to change after they get that next RSI mining ship finished? Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, that next ship may be the size of the first version. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
It might end up being that smaller, that other version of it, which would fit in between the mole in that.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you to Evan Kuchinagi. He had the original price of the Orion for $325, but it's updated now to $575.
Yeah.
So,
and we think that it will. Well, we know it's going to go up again. You guys know that when it goes for its own
I want to say $750.
Yeah, when it hits the hangars and when it's flight ready and ready to go, it's going to go up. So.
Depending on the size, it may be 900.
God only knows. Yeah. It's a really big ship, and the fact is that it's a money maker. That's the other thing too. So that becomes the other factor with it. This ship, though, if you guys notice in the video, this ship has been white boxed and gray boxed before. They've taken it almost to gray box level, and so they've worked on it, and they've told us that. There's another version of this where they actually sky cam through it and fly through, and you can see the whole ship with the catwalks and stuff. We don't know what the refinery area looks like, but there it is there. There's the part with the catwalk. But you can see the length of this ship. This is a big ship.
It is.
And so this one, I think if the Reclaimer gives you ideas of Alien, I think this is going to be the sister to that, because it is a massive, massive ship. Either you guys own this one, the Orion?
I don't.
No, I do. So, I'm a miner. Mining is, if I don't do anything else, I will do mining. And so, having
That's funny. You look older than 18 to me.
I know 18. I know. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And like fastcart said, some of these ships, the Endeavors, the Banu Merchantmans, some of these ships, we actually look forward to. We know that they're taking time to come out. This ship's been around a long time too. It's not a new design. This is one of those ships that came out back in the days when all they had was concept art. This is before they started using the software to lay out these ships. So it went through the whole thing of metrics and having to be redesigned, which is why it grew. Because once they went back and put in the metrics for RSI, the ship had to get bigger. And CIG doesn't try to make bigger ships. They really try to make them reasonable in size. But if it dictates, that it needs the size to do what it needs to do, then they go ahead and let the ship grow to
I
the
mean,
size it
the
needs
proof
to
of
be.
that is the new Spirit. Like they had to they increased the size of it like by 10 meters, but they said that they couldn't add a side door to it because that'll make it even bigger than what it is now.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. All right.
Before we get to the Q&A, can I add one more ship? Because I know you don't have the details or anything for it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that follow.
Oh,
but,
Choop, no, those are bits. Thanks for the bits, Choop.
Oh, those are bits. Oh,
Yeah,
thanks for the bits. Yeah. Thank you, Choop. But one thing we haven't really covered, I don't believe so, but the retribution. And this is the final episode for the Shipyard. You guys should talk about the retribution because that's the combination of multiple manufacturers, correct?
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah, go ahead and why don't you start and talk? I'll bring it up. Give me 1 second.
My bad. This is something that I mean. I think it's a mainstay for Squadron 42, so I believe it's already probably built for the game and material and everything. But it's a big ship. It's a city-sized ship. I want to say 7,500 meters. So definitely city-sized. It can carry multiple squads of ships. Basically, people have always wanted a cruise ship. This is definitely a cruise ship, but it's not viable it's not purchasable from the public. And the Bengal is the same way. Wait, who's the Bengal? Is that RSI too?
Bengal is RSI, yes.
Yeah. So the Bengal,
I completely forgot
the
about.
Pegasus.
You know what? Listen, I told you
Well.
guys, I
It's
was
okay, Griff.
tired.
It's okay.
Well, the other thing was that there were no stats on them, and that was the other thing. So I was
no
dealing
stats,
with
and
ships
it's
that we
not viable.
Yeah, ships. that
Honorable
we-
mentions: the RSI Bengal and the Pegasus.
Yeah, no, but those are good points. But what I will do, because we are at Fastcart, thank you for bringing those ships up because they are still a part of that manufacturer. So let me do this real quick. Let me do this. Right
Yeah, no
there.
problem. So yeah, I can't really say anything about the Bengal except we have seen the Bengal from Invictus Week twice now.
Yes.
And you do not want to get in front of that gun, especially when it fires at some knucklehead who try to fire it at it.
Yeah. All right. So very quickly, let's do some comparisons here because that we can do. Okay. So what you guys are seeing right now in that lower bottom, but most of you know that was the design for the Pegasus. Now the Pegasus, we don't know if it's going to look like that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But so far, CIG has been pretty good with matching up these designs. If you want to get a good idea, there's an Aegis Javelin back there in the back, and you can kind of get an idea of scale because you guys know how big a Javelin is in game. Yeah. The Pegasus is the one down there at the bottom. It has like the little side thing on it up at the top. But anyway, that's the Pegasus. To the far right, the next larger ship you guys know is the Bengal Carrier, which you've seen in game. Right next to that is the Orion, but that's actually based upon the old scale. Okay. Now, above that is what you're talking about, the Retribution. The Retribution in size, and I think we had that. It's like it's like a stupid
2,700 meters.
2,700 meters. Yeah. Yeah. So, what, half
and
half
the Bengal
mile?
is 955.
Yeah. So it is a really, really big ship. Now we've talked about that ship and we know it's going to be seen at some point in Squadron 42. We don't know when, but it is not a ship that you can buy. Not going to be able to buy
Many
it.
people would like to.
Yeah, will you
that's like the you have the Legatus package with everything. That's like triple Legatus package.
Yeah. You're talking about a ship that's almost a half mile in length. So it's a pretty big ship. So I don't think you're going to be able to pirate it or anything like that. Don't try to take don't try to take your Mantis out and stop it. I don't think that's going to work.
Again, you could try.
Yeah, you could try. Yeah,
this will be a great siege kind of mission, though.
You could try.
Like you have like a wreck thing, but it'll add some interesting gameplay if it comes.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It would be. All right, we do have some questions. Thanks for Fastcart for bringing that up because that was something that
no problem.
Talk about. We've got one here from Shu. Wow, Citizen Shenanigans. Thank you so much for the Prime.
Thank you for the subscription.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for the subscription.
I'm gonna go with Chooch. Chooch says, I purchased planet side delivery packs and CCU'd them into tracker mantis pairs for an interdiction or blockade play. That's
I
pretty
think
cool.
that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. No, and that's cool. He's just saying that's how he was able to. We were talking about how do you use the mantis, right?
Right.
And so, and I
Oh.
think that there's the idea of creating a blockade, which is much more practical. You know, where you're going to have multiple mantises versus one random mantis that's out there. So that's an interesting way to look at the gameplay. We've got one from Fist to Face Gaming. Fastcart said that he loves Terra. Can we eject him there so we don't have to hear any more of his bad jokes? Seriously, he's getting out of hand. They say you're getting out of hand.
Wait. Getting out of hand.
Yeah, right. All right.
A bit out of hand. Thank you very much.
Chooch says the Scorpius looks sweet, but did not bring enough to sway him for him to buy. Oh, from his Vanguard. Okay, with the BUKS, the Bucks.
That is true. That is true. A lot of people like that Vanguard. So
yeah. Even though it does supposedly it falls into the category of what they consider heavy fighter, which is interesting.
It does.
I thought it was going to be considered medium fighter, but it does fall into that category. It seems like the Vanguard still holds the trophy when it comes to that, you know? Let's go to Black Sky Legion. Since you are all talking all RSI ships, speculate a little on the newly voted RSI mining ship between the Mole and the Orion. And I think we did do a little speculation saying that that older size version of the Mole is something that we think we would see. What do you guys think? Or the Orion, rather. What do you guys think about what they shared during CitizenCon? Because they did talk about it's going to carry a vehicle. Anything else you guys think that next ship would be like? What about refinery? Anything you think it'll have anything like a refinery in it, or do you think it'll still be a matter of having to use stuff like the Odyssey and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure a medium-sized ship will be enough for a refinery and
No.
mining,
It's a large. It's not a medium. They're considering it a large.
Bigger than the Odyssey,
Yeah,
right?
maybe then. I'm not sure.
It'd be interesting.
There's a chance. I would say that most likely, in terms of the whole mining kind of experience and mining ship, I can foresee this ship as being just before we hit the Orion, as something that says, hey, this is the point where we think mining is in a good place, and this is what we actually want to go forward with regards to mining 100% or maybe 95% certainty going forward with regards to the whole mining experience. And then they're going to build on that and extrapolate that for the Orion. That's what I foresee. And that's part of the other reason why I'm really excited about this ship coming out. Not just for the ship itself, but for the whole vision of mining and setting the whole gold standard for mining, the whole mining ship experience, and the multi-crew experience in general. Because as we're seeing the whole pattern with mining, and standardizing certain things and the gameplay experience and gameplay designs, and they're really pushing mining as one of the professions to possibly get some inspiration from that to then apply to other professions. So whatever this ship actually has or will have, I can see it having well-functioning resource management systems. I can see it having some other systems that we may not even know about yet. I can see it having possibly the whole armor, the breakability, all those things that when these features come online, it's going to be one of those ships that actually supports all those things. So very excited about it.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of like right now, when I want to go mining in a prospector or a mole, I can't take a rock with me. Because there's sometimes I'm out there and I'm trying to go out and do big rocks, and all I'm doing is hitting them freaking rocks that are big enough for a rock to do, right? That's all I'm seeing. And I get frustrated, say, man, I wish I could land my ship and, get out with my rock and go out there and do it. So I see this ship as being that ship that allows you as a miner to be able to do both. If you're out there and
every mining aspect.
if you're on that moon, it's big boulders, then great. But if you're hitting those smaller ones, you can still come back with some profit and not have to feel like, because right now, you're loading your freaking rock into an MSR or a freaking cutlass, right? Yeah. And then when you're in that, you can't do any big rock mining, right? So to me, to see that ship, that it actually allows that full rounded aspect, as you said, of mining, and more than likely, it will come out before the Orion, because it will be the test bed, right? It's that next step up, that because right now the Mole See, it's really weird because we still don't know the total functionality. I don't want to get down the whole line on mining, guys.
Right, yeah.
We don't know the whole functionality of the mole.
Right.
And so right now we know that you've got those big areas in there that looks like maybe it does some type of sorting and refining. You know what I'm saying? In the back area in the middle. But right now, all the players are doing is just cutting lasers, and that's it. And I see CIG creating some other workstations of other things that can be done, which is why I'm wondering whether this next RSI ship will have capability beyond just cutting rocks. But now either you're tractor beaming them in and lasering, or you're doing some form of refining, sorting, something else that gives some more work that can happen on a larger ship. Okay.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to wrap it up, guys and ladies. Thank you guys so much. Yes.
One last thing about the retribution. I just want to give the Korean plot for the
We've
for the
done that
model.
for 3 weeks. Listen.
It's so good though.
Don't be giving them jokers no props. Them told you them jokers are gonna wipe us out. I'm telling you, they're serious. Them jokers over there are serious. Don't be giving them no more fuel, man. We need to be getting our game together over here because they gonna be dominating. Y'all, listen, you know I ain't lying. You know I'm not lying. Y'all saw that Bar Citizen commercial. Them jokers went 100 on that bad fella.
You know every aspect of the retribution.
Yeah. No, I'm just teasing. For those of you in Korea, it was cool. It was that cool. Retribution was amazing. I mean, we thought we had it down when we got the Kraken. Y'all took it with that retribution.
Oh, yeah, to the next level.
That retribution was the bomb. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and start talking about what we got coming up because we have things coming up too. We want to talk to you guys about. FC, tell everybody about next Thursday.
Thursday, we have our show talk. We talk Thursday, the Remembering Community. People can come into Discord and we talk about what's going on that week. Typically, we cover Star Citizen Live and Inside Star Citizen, which is coming back this week, this 27th. So we should be able to talk about that on Thursday. But yeah, that's 9 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Friday UTC.
Yeah. You know what? I was going to ask you to do Soul Voices, Kalrati, but I'm not sure if we're going to have Soul Voices next Saturday. It's up in the air, gang. And the reason why it's up in the air is because next Sunday, we're going to be doing our fundraiser. Some of you remember a couple years ago, we did a fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Hospital. You guys helped us raise $2,000 that night, where we did a 1-hour radio enactment of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. We did the Orson Welles version, the old radio broadcast. And we had about 15 content creators. Captain Richard was here. Paul Shelley was here, Buster, a whole bunch of folks were here. I don't remember everybody.
And by the way,
here.
if you want to listen to that, check it out on our YouTube page.
Yeah, in fact, if somebody can pull that up and drop it in there for folks, that they'll see what it was like, because maybe some people never did see it. That way you guys can check it out. But we're going to do a new reenactment this time of the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, and not the one with Keanu Reeves. Thank you very much. So,
that's the new one I saw.
So
wait, that's another version?
Yeah.
When that happened?
Yes. So
Yeah, the last new one I saw. So I didn't see the old one.
I know. We're going to do the original radio version of, and it's virtually the same story, but they changed it with the Keanu version. But anyway, we're going to do the original version of radio broadcast of War of the Worlds, and we're going to be doing it for charity as well. It may be St. Jude's. I'm trying to do Gamers Outreach, but I had such a tough time reaching them last time. If I can reach them this time, we'll do them. Otherwise, it might be St. Jude's Children's Hospital again. But hopefully you guys will be able to tune in. So we may be having our rehearsal on Saturday. That's why I'm not sure if we're going to do voices. So if y'all see a tweet for voices, then you'll know that we are on. But if there's no tweet, that means that we're rehearsing and we won't have Soul Voices next Saturday. So hopefully you guys can join us next Sunday at 8 p.m. for the charity thing. Make sure you tell people about it, because we really do want to raise some money for some really good organizations like most streamers do. And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of support from folks, even new people who will come on board and throw some support toward the charities. Okay. And other than that, that's all we're going to tell you guys about this week. FC, anything else? You got it?
Protect the blow. It really did.
That's it. All right. Kalrati, you got anything? Nothing? All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you guys so much. As always, we really appreciate you guys, the support you guys do. As always, don't forget about our merchandise. Check that out. Plenty of merch and stuff there for those of you who always support us there. We appreciate it. Patreon. Don't forget all of our social media platforms. You can always find out about our shows and what's going on. And we appreciate you, as always. We're going to be doing a raid tonight for Star Jump Ender. You guys know the folks from Star Jump Station. We are going to raid Star Jump Ender. So when you guys get over there, give Ender a shout. Ender also does great charity raising for folks from the veterans and stuff. but he's a really good guy with that team. He's the quiet guy, but he helps them out and does a lot of work with them as well. So give him some love when you get over there, when you see him. And till then, we're going to see you guys hopefully sometime this week, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Stay safe, take care of yourself, stay healthy. Peace, love, and soul. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
See you, peeps.
Night.